Week 1 looks like the Chiefs are not only a Raven beater, but a world beater. They share the lead in the AFC West. Who did what, and what does it look like going forward towards the Bengals today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everybody. We're brought to you by PrizePicks. Every episode that we do is going to give you something to learn, and PrizePicks is where you want to go at PrizePicks.com, Locked On NFL. There's a slash in there. You can use our code, all lowercase, Locked On NFL, to get your 50 instantly when you play $5. A lot of play going on Sunday. We are going to cover it. This is Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. You can get all of his information, his QB tracking that's going on right now over on his Substack. I'm Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics, as well as my site, NFL33.com, where I'm running down what these teams are doing right now. You'll have a piece on that tomorrow. And then RGR Football, where we take another view of the Chiefs from 360. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, because we're free for you every single day on every platform. Make another Locked On show your next listen. Start here by liking and subbing on this video, and get out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get a free audio show. You can get us 5 days a week plus. And for you locos, our everyday listeners, we call them locos. They're on the Insider text line at 816-357-8781. Get over there as well. Now, yes, we have to get into the Bengals here later in the show. They are limping a little bit. We're going to talk about that matchup. Before that, we have to tell you about, there's some under the radar performers that the Chiefs need to take forward and take some advantage of, try to double that down. But we start, as we always should, with the AFC West and the fact that the Chiefs are right up there at the top of it. But because the Chargers played an actual AFC game, and a division game, to tell you the truth, they are technically in the lead, quote unquote, despite having the same record. Now, this was a rough week for the AFC West, in my opinion, because you saw problems on every team out there, and we can start from top to bottom and go through them. For the Chargers, who did end up winning the ball game, it was not like there was a lot of high-flying offense out there. I don't feel like, other than the emergence of Ladd McConkey, that their passing game really looked like it was something to be scared of. They ran the ball well, though. Like, the Jim Harbaugh plan is in effect, and we are going to have to deal with that coming up maybe sooner than we want to admit, before the bye. But it is going to be run, play action. You're going to get it underneath to McConkey. I think you're going to see that evolve into an Edelman-style focus. When Brady only had Edelman left, that's really where they're going to start here. Everything else is going to run off of it. Is that how you see it? And how do you feel about that matchup for the Chiefs coming up?
It's going to be a fun matchup. I actually was watching all the games today. I absolutely love NFL Sunday Ticket. The multi-view is awesome. I was able to get all 4 games I wanted to watch at once. And then in the afternoon, when the divisional games were on, I was able to watch both those games at the same time. And one of my favorite things, and I actually tweeted this out, Kansas City actually was leading the entire division in scoring. If you look at the Chargers game and the Raiders game and then the Denver game, the Chargers and the Raiders were in the fourth quarter. They had only scored like 15 points between them, I think, and the Broncos had scored 9. And so the Chiefs technically had played 1 game. The entire rest of the division had played an essential 2 games, and the Chiefs still led in scoring. So hard to really argue about that when it, offensively. I mean, the Broncos game had some weird stuff because it had 2 safeties in the first half. I don't remember the last time I saw a game that really had just 1 safety, let alone 2. But you look at the Chargers and you look at what they did, and Josh Palmer got thrown out of the game late. I'm curious if there will be a suspension coming. It's not going to affect him for the Chiefs game, I wouldn't suspect, but maybe the league will throw him out or will suspend him for a game after getting thrown out for fighting. So it's something to watch there. But I was really curious to see how their passing offense looked, and it looked pretty anemic for most of the game. Yeah, they were able to run the ball, and yeah, it was they were able to get the ball moving against the Raiders. But it was the Raiders, and it wasn't something that they were doing well. They were down most of the first half, I believe, in that game. It's not clean.
Yeah, I mean, and the Raiders are going to Raider. When you can't even throw a pass without it coming out of your hand wrong, I mean, you're Raidering at that point. Zamir White had a couple of issues. Clearly, to me, while you got to give everybody credit because this is a fresh season, right? And a lot of change in the AFC West. Harbaugh's team put it together. They relied on what he brings, the physicality, the attitude, the run game. and they got it done. Now, you get a lot from Antonio Pierce. You get a lot of bravado. I feel like they started the first half okay. They didn't really finish it up for me. And I think that's probably going to be the tale of their season. I picked them to finish last in our AFC roundup, folks. If you missed that show, you can go back on the channel and take a look at that. I feel like the Raiders are the worst team here. Now, the Broncos didn't look good either, but they put up more points. You can't say that it's any one direction. I think we have differing feelings on Bo Nix. For me, he made a lot of mistakes, as did every single rookie quarterback out here. Jalen Daniels looks better only because he ran. If it wasn't for the running, Daniels would not look any better than Caleb Williams. You know what I mean?
And please learn how to slide, Jaden. Please learn how to slide.
Not going to happen.
Oh.
For those of you running him in fantasy, like I think Chris is, watch out.
No, I don't have him in fantasy. I watching him run and watching him not slide at all. I mean, like he really wants to run. He wants to do that, and he wants to take advantage of his legs, which is great. Be a dual threat quarterback. He's got a lot of growing to do, and that team is not going to be good this year anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He needs to learn on the field, but he needs to learn how to slide, because if he doesn't, he's going to get lit up at some point, because he's going to go down and somebody's going to be able to hit him, and it's going to be a legal hit. So learn how to slide, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, going back to the Chargers game really quick, the Chargers and the Raiders. So the Chargers actually didn't score a touchdown until the fourth quarter, and they trailed the entire first half and only had 3 field goals to show for it until the fourth quarter. So to me, that is not what you want to see from that offense. Herbert only had less than 150 yards passing, and that's a problem for that offense. If you have him doing less than 150 yards passing on a regular basis, that's a problem. And I understand that Dobbins went off for 13.5 yards a carry, and I get that you want to use the running game, but you have a great weapon in Herbert, and they need to be able to use him. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't think Harbaugh was ever a great fit for that team to begin with.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be something that I think we see evolve, because you can't just ignore Justin Herbert. But right now, I do think the Broncos are in a better position than the Raiders are, because despite some rookie mistakes, I think Bo Nix will improve, and I think he will be running a better offense with a better quarterback play than the Raiders are going to have. So we'll see what comes of it next week and see how these teams take the next step. But before we get there, we have talked about some of the under-the-radar players that put in good performances the Chiefs can build on. One particular, number 98, is one that I want to see a lot more from. We're going to get to that coming up next. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps, PrizePicks, you just bet you against the numbers. Super simple. All you have to do is go more or less on 2 to 6 players of your choosing in a projection and watch the winnings roll in. Right now, they're giving you a deal. Caleb Williams, 1 yard. We've seen this deal for Patrick Mahomes before. Every week in September, that's right. You only need 1 yard to get a win right there. 4 weeks for free W's is what you're looking for over on PrizePicks. I really love that one. I love the over-under on Patrick Mahomes because it's about targets versus yards, and you can always get something that's Chiefs-related as well. So check it out. Download the PrizePicks apps right now. Use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like, or is that lost in childhood? For me, one of the things that I've really enjoyed learning as an adult is scuba diving. That is one of the things that I absolutely love doing. In Kansas, it is not something that you can do very easily, but there are places in Kansas. But it's a lot of fun to be able to go learn things like that. Feel like a little kid again, learning to do something that you absolutely love doing. Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What is something that you would like to learn, whether it's gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend at bowling? Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder, because your back-to-school era can come at any age. If you're thinking about starting new therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/lockedon. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Make sure that you guys check out the new and improved Locked On NFL show because it's twice a day. You're going to get a dose of Tyler in the morning, a dose of Tony in the afternoon. You guys are going to love it, so go get subbed today. We appreciate you, and I love coming back a few days after, obviously on a short week like we had there. We had this weekend to really kind of sink in the rest of the league and take a look at some of the stats that matter. One stands out to me, and we talked post-game quite a bit about not only Chris Jones, but Leo Chenal. Two of the better pass rushers. Leo obviously playing a lot of roles, doing a lot of things. But because there was so much to discuss about them, I think we overshadowed the fact that despite not getting home and only getting one quarterback hit, George Karlaftis put as many pressures on that team as Chris Jones did, both of them totaling 6. And the guy that snuck in there and actually had more pressures than Leo Chenal did was Turk Ward. And that is music to my ears because right now the top 3 pressure getters in game 1 were all defensive linemen. And that's what I'm looking for. It's got to be a rotation, but you had to have someone else step up into that role that could help Chris and George out so that they can't shift to one side. I think it blurs all the blocking assignments and allows the Chiefs to have a more formidable pass rush attack because they're going to have it. Obviously, Lamar's unique. But having Turk Wharton be in that top 3, to me, is an under-the-radar performance that really helps.
That's a huge distinction that we didn't give enough talk. We didn't talk about enough in the last show, right after the game. Lamar is such a different QB. If it's not Lamar Jackson, Chris Jones probably had 4 sacks by himself. He was destroying the Baltimore offensive line, and that is such a big key to remember who they were going against. And yes, you would like to get more pressure. Yes, you would like to get more sacks. I get all that, and I don't disagree. But it is so huge to remember they're going against a guy that is one of the best getting away from pass rush in Lamar Jackson. And it's going to be a completely different deal. I know we're going to talk about the Bengals later, but Joe Burrow is not the same athlete, doesn't have the same ability. So I expect that that's going to be something that will change this coming week when we get into that conversation. But I'm glad you bring up Turk Wharton because one of the things that I think, and I think we kind of discussed this right before the season started, but to see Turk Wharton be that guy that was going to be the starter next to Chris Jones was kind of surprising to me, and I think it surprised you a little bit too, right before the season started. And he showed why he should be the starter. He played very well against the Ravens. Yeah, he didn't get home. He didn't get the sacks. He got pressure, but he was also formidable against the run. And I'm not going to say he was great against the run, but he was good enough against the run. I do think that that's impressive. I was not expecting that. And seeing him being able to come back from his injury 2 years ago and finally be healthy, which is, I think, what we're seeing right now, is I think he was escalating and then he got hurt and took him a lot longer to get back than you wanted. But that's kind of the way it works. And that's something else to throw out there. And remember, for Charles Omenihu coming back later this year, is that we know what he was last year. Maybe he's not going to come back at 100% of what he was, because those injuries can take a while to recover from, especially when you're talking about some of the explosiveness.
That's fair. And you got to take some time to come around. Another guy that has to improve and come back around, despite having some good plays and solid coverage, in my opinion. Jamari Conner was up and down, had 4 missed tackles credited to him on the night. And that is something that he's going to have to clean up. Most of them were in the run game. But the interesting thing to me, and the thing that comes back to having this versatility that runs through this team, he had 18 snaps as a safety, 27 as a nickel corner. So 60-40 for him, much like the run game was for the team as well. So that tells me that it's still an evolving role. I don't want to get too hung up on the defense. I know we got to talk offense. But what was your opinion after breaking that down and where he should be more comfortable?
I think that it's just going to be him getting back into playing. It's hard to say. I think he's probably more comfortable at safety because it's where they've had him, and that's where he has most of his snaps in the NFL. But the one thing that I loved seeing from Shamari Conner is, and Granted, yes, you want to see him make the hits. He was flying. He was absolutely flying around to the ball. And granted, he didn't get the stops that you wish that he would have gotten that game. But I guarantee you it's going to get better each week because he is going to start being able to sink a little bit lower and get, break down a little bit better and get those tackles. It may not be this week against the Bengals where he, doesn't have as many missed tackles. I think he'll get better this week, but I don't think he'll go to 0. But he was absolutely flying to the ball, and you want to see that. You don't want to take that away from him. He just needs to learn to harness that just a little bit better. But first game back, first real action in a year, I kind of get it to an extent. You wish that it didn't happen, but at the same time, you love seeing that from your DBs. He is willing to hit, and he is willing to go lay the wood, and you absolutely want that, whether it's in the passing game or the running game.
And I'll tell you, Legarius, it was a path to get to as good as he was. Very similar to what I'm seeing here. On the offensive side, just want to point out that, yes, it was a great night for Rashee Rice. He was their leading receiver, obviously, in a number of different categories, including yards per route run. And he got 9 targets. That should be in that kind of direction, right? You want to venture a guess who came up number 2? Because it did surprise me.
In yards per route run?
Yeah.
No, because I already know. It was Noah Gray.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It was Noah Gray.
This stuff. And
so
kudos to him. Only 3 targets. Okay. Well,
so yeah.
That says to me that efficiency is what that's about, and that I think that's a lot of why he got the extension, and I think that that's a good thing in laying the groundwork to be, no, you don't have to be the superstar, but be efficient in what you do. Run and get those yardage as we need them in situational football, and I love that.
What I loved is seeing Justin Watson and Juju Smith-Schuster. And yes, I understand Juju had a drop, and I get that. It stinks. But you get both those guys over 10 yards on your average depth of target. That is a great sign for this offense. And one of the things I tweeted out, and we didn't talk about enough, or we didn't talk about it at all in the after show, Patrick Mahomes was over 10 yards an attempt in that game. That is something that he's done. I think I looked at it. I think he has 8 games that are better than what he played in this past game when it comes to average depth, or when we're talking about yards per attempt, to give you an idea as to how good he was on Thursday night. 8 other games where he's had a deeper average depth of attempt.
And his depth per target was at 6. So you're getting everybody contributing after they catch the pass. So I think that goes, again, to having a well-tuned machine, which they're going to need when they face the Bengals next week. Bengals had a rough day out. We're going to kind of snicker and enjoy that and tell you what it means for the Chiefs coming up next. Getting your tickets to Arrowhead just got easier. Whether you're looking for that week 1 against the Ravens, week 2 against the Bengals, or even week 5 when they come back in October for the New Orleans Saints, they have a new feature at Game Time called Game Time Picks. And it takes all the guesswork out of getting your tickets. It makes it easier to filter out the fluff and get the incredible deals on seats that you don't want to waste time searching for through those thousands of tickets. Get Game Time Picks. The curation makes it easy to get all the sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, anything that you're looking for. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create the account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off of your first ticket purchase at Game Time. It's last-minute tickets. It is lowest prices, and it's always guaranteed. And make sure you guys like and sub here. Get over to KC Chiefs Corner on Substack. Get subscribed there. Check out NFL 33 for what I'm running down for the rest of the league. And join us on RGR Football Live on Monday night. We have to turn the page here. We're going to start looking forward to the Cincinnati Bengals. And you have to take what you're given. There's no way around that. What you put on film is who you are until you put something better on film. And when it comes down, is it just didn't look very good for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, a lot of folks are going to take the fact that they got blanked in the first half and lost 16-10 to the New England Patriots of all teams, with Jacoby Brissett running that offense. a lot of folks are going to look at Joe Burrow, but Joe was pretty efficient. 21 for 29, 164. Not the big yardage that you're hoping for. Higgins was not in this game that I understand. He certainly wasn't targeted. You got 6 for 6 on Chase, 62 yards. Pretty pedestrian for them. I ask you, given this, that A, they lost, B, they didn't look very good. They didn't run for hardly anything. And after the Chiefs have stopped Derrick Henry, I think they're prepared for Zach Moss, to tell you the truth. Are they more dangerous because they lost and they're coming after the Chiefs?
I think they're absolutely going to be more dangerous because they lost. I think that they are going to be – you look back at the Bengals, and they have not ever started well in the past several seasons. Some of that is Joe Burrow being injured and not getting a full training camp. He finally had that this year, but he hasn't had Chase out there. I don't think that really showed too much. And you're right, Higgins didn't play at all. He was doubtful and was scratched for this game. So you look at what this meant for this team. They didn't have maybe you could call Chase being about 80% of what I think he normally is. I didn't think he looked great. I think he looked okay, but he was his normal self in the locker room afterwards. And I think somebody asked him how many targets he had, and I don't remember how many targets it was, some 8 to 10, I think. And he goes, you don't have to ask the coaches why they didn't target me more. And I just sit there, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to play in Kansas City. So glad he's not going to be in Kansas City, because that would never play in Kansas City. You're not going to get to give that answer in a Chiefs locker room and be able to have a job. Andy Reid isn't going to put up with that crap. Chase is a fantastic wide receiver, but the attitude it drives me nuts. When you look at this game, though, and when you look at what the Bengals did, they couldn't do anything right. And it was so funny to watch the game. Gesicki gets a touchdown. They call a touchdown. They review it. They realize the ball is loose, so they overturn it. And then I believe it was a play later, or maybe 2 plays later, the Bengals receiver is literally ready to run into the end zone, and somebody L'Jarius needs the ball and knocks it out right before he gets a touchdown. And you're sitting there going, wow.
Yeah.
This is how this game is going to go.
That's not on Joe.
No, it's not on Joe. But you go back and you talk about Jacoby Brissett being the QB. If you want to call what he did be a QB, sure. I mean, he looked bad. In my opinion, I didn't think he looked great. I mean, Go back and watch the game. He wasn't taking shots. He was just doing enough to get them a win, which is, if that's what you want and that's what you're expecting him to do as a quarterback, okay. But that's not going to win you many games in the NFL. If the Bengals hadn't played bad and had some very bad miscues, that's a completely different game. And the Patriots got the ball on another turnover in Bengals territory and only put up 3 points. I mean, the Patriots could not score touchdowns in this game, and it really almost cost them the game at the end. But obviously the Patriots ended up winning. Knocked me out of my Survivor League trying to figure out if I'm going to join again and re-up it again, because I was thinking Cincinnati by almost 9 points would be pretty fair. I was thinking, well, that makes sense. New England's not going to be good. Yeah.
Well, the thing that I'll give you a preview for later in the week, folks, is we are going to continue down this path tomorrow. Matt and Derek for Wednesday. We'll have the crossover on Thursday, and Friday we will get you prepped for everything you need to know in planning for that game. I'll give you a little glimpse, though. Bengals were 4 for 11 on third down this week, and that's why they only got to run 48 plays. That combined with a pretty healthy dose of Ramondre Stevenson, what did he get? 25 carries. So something that the Chiefs are going to do as well. You're going to see Pacheco. You're going to see some Carson Steele. I think that's something that third down is going to be a key.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, 164 yards on the day. But I go back to what I said earlier about Brissett. He had 121 yards passing. I mean, you're not going to win in the NFL very often with 120 yards passing. Now, granted, Caleb Williams had a worse game, but he's a rookie. So I don't know what to say about the Bengals. I was not impressed, obviously, with the way they played, and they did not look like they were ready to go in this game. Whether or not Chase is going to be a full go, that was the other part of this, is he checked into this game as being sick and coming off of the contract thing where he didn't get a contract. So you have to wonder if that's going to play into how all this is going to work this year for them. But I'm really curious. I don't know that Higgins is going to be able to go next week or this coming week against the Chiefs. Hamstring injuries generally aren't going to be a very short-term thing. I mean, maybe it's possible if he just slightly tweaked it. But good luck. If he's not able to go, this is going to be a different game. Those two guys really need each other. And Chase is a fantastic guy, but I don't think he's ready for the season because he hasn't practiced all off season. He's been watching, hasn't been practicing.
Going to be a little rough for them. That's okay. We'll take it. Folks, we're going to get you ready for the Bengals as we come back tomorrow. Matt following that and on through the week. Make sure that you like and sub and hit the bell here on YouTube. Join us on Spotify and then Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you. I'm really looking forward to this week. Hope that you will join us all week long because we are every day for free on every single platform out there. Go listen to another Locked On show right now. Maybe the Bengals guys, they're probably crying over there. It's going to be all right. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.